Freitas.
Simon Freitae.
Ozzy Freitas.
Simon Freitae.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Freitae Effect.
Yes.
My name is Ozzy Freitas.
And I am Simon Freitas.
And this week, we have a special guest.
Super special.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Mariamawit Loulseged. I also go by Mawit. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And ethnically, I'm from Ethiopia, first generation. And then I was also born in Boston, raised in Boston and Randolph. So yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah.
Hey, girl!
Welcome.
Yes, so Mariamawit is one of our homies that we grew up with who we thought would be perfect to have on this week's episode because we are talking about community organizing and how that shit burns you the fuck out.
Burn.
Because it just does. So pretty much, the reason why we wanted to talk about this was because a person like myself and a person like Mariamawit, we exist, we out here, and, you know, we're just people who care a lot about the community, and when we see other people who don't step up, we usually end up being those people that do step up. But we wanted to talk about how when you are the person that normally steps up, you end up coming to a point where you start resenting doing service. And so we just wanted to give some advice and some introspection and hopefully inspire other people to step up so that, you know, you can get that experience. And because it's not all that bad and we need more leaders in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Test yourself.
So, Simon, would you like to do
The turning tables.
the turning tables?
How the turns of table. Yes. So, today's episode of How the Turns Have Table is actually very much a what not to do if you're a fucking community organizer. So, this was a time when I was the hall council president at McLaughlin Hall, my sophomore year of college, and I had realized I was going to fail chemistry. So, I was depressed. And Azib said, "Hey, Simon." And I was like, "Azib, I don't want to talk about anything. I'm sad." And she was like, "I'm coming up to UNH." And I was like, "Bitch." And she was just like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my God, let's get drunk right now." And she was just like, "I'm not going to be there for a couple hours." I was like, "I'm going to get drunk right now." So then I started getting drunk. And then that whole night, I did not stop. And
You
I
were
got
like a freshman, right?
sophomore.
Okay.
Yep, because I was Oh, no,
you were a
I was a freshman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You were a leader and a freshman.
I was vice president.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had to run the social for some reason.
You were vice president?
Yep.
As a freshman?
Well, I was the second floor rep at the beginning of the year, and then
Okay.
the vice president got, like, exiled off the island. So then they were like, "Simon, you should be vice president." And I was like, "Okay." And then I got voted vice president, so, yeah. People saw me as a leader, and this
Natural
is...
born leader.
Yeah, I'm also really tall, so that helps.
It's probably because you're tall.
It's because I'm tall. That's it.
And you're friendly.
Tall and black. But, tall.
And black.
Obama was still president.
Yo, that's what they were like, he's our president.
Yeah, they're all Habesha. Oh my God. I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
you didn't know that? UNH is not Habesha.
Stop. Well, there's like 4 of us actually. Like all the black people are just Habesha. No. So back to the story. Azeb is up there with our friend Kellen, who has been on the show.
Go back to episode 3.
Yeah. And Matt, who we went to St. Anthony's with, right?
Ayo, Peabody Matt.
Yeah. And there was just a point. I just remember I got way too drunk. Everyone had to be taken out of my room because I was so drunk and screaming and stuff. And then the iconic
You really
one
weren't. It wasn't that bad though.
Really?
You really
is it
weren't
just that
that
everyone
drunk.
at UNH is always super dramatic about every time I got drunk freshman year? Because I
Yes.
think that's what it was.
But you're also really loud and funny,
Yeah.
and they were probably just like, "Oh man, Simon's drunk. We can't handle him." But it's also like, no, you're not gonna hit anybody. Like you're never mad. You're like a happy drunk person.
Yee. But the point, the mad climax of the night, or not mad, but the climax of the night was basically, I do not remember this, but being told, I looked at Matt and said, hey Matt, I'm not an alcoholic. And then I just like passed out.
That shit was hilarious. Because you were so serious. You're like, "I'm not an alcoholic."
So then, skip forward. This is when the turns have to table. It is 6 o'clock in the morning. And there is a breakfast social that needs to fucking happen. And I get up to the sound of my alarm and I was like, all right, this is a time where everyone else has to come before me because this whole ass community needs fucking pancakes. And I make real good pancakes. So I hopped in the shower. I get back. Henry's pissed at me because the whole room smells like weed, but that wasn't my fault.
That was my fault.
Sorry, Henry. So then...
Not sorry.
Okay, so then I get downstairs, I start setting everything up. Guess what? Everyone else went home. I'm the only one setting up the fucking social. 1 or 2 or 3 other people start showing up as it's literally time to start the fucking social. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just start making pancakes. So everything's set up. There's 6 of us working when there's supposed to be 20.
Pancakes were bomb though.
Yeah, I made chocolate chip and banana, blueberry. We had a bunch of shit. We really prepared for this. We did a good job. But I was just dead inside. And so then... everyone at the end of the social is just like, Simon, that was so great. And I was like, okay, I need to go sit down. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I'm so fucking hungover. And they're like, Simon. And I was like, no, this is real, guys. I'm dead. And they're like, how did you fucking do this? I'm like, I don't know. This is what it takes. So whatever you do, bitches, get sleep, drink water. Do not get blackout drunk the day before you have to have a social, even if you're going to fail chemistry, guys. Don't do it. The world will still go on, and you need to be there for it.
Damn.
God. So, yeah, that's my how the turns have tabled of this week.
Yeah, I mean, honestly...
we've learned.
There have definitely been
lot of
many
lessons.
occasions where I've been extremely hungover when I know I'm leading something the next day, but I pull it off so beautifully.
Yeah.
Somehow. And I'm always like, God is on my side, yo. Seriously? Oh, man. I'm not going to mention any of the events in which I've been hungover and that I have led because then you will all know my secrets. And then you'll look back and be like, oh, that makes sense. But hey, you still came and it was still lit, so.
True.
Yeah. Oh, man. But there are so many versions of what leadership looks like. Which will smoothly take us into our main topic.
Like butter.
So one thing I wanted to actually talk about was the literal definition of leadership.
Literally?
Literally. So the word-by-word definition that I found online that I liked that didn't have the word leadership in it because for some reason on Google and Wikipedia it was like being a leader is to lead. And I was like,
Fix your definition, please.
Running is too hard.
okay, internet. We broke Simon.
So dumb.
But yeah, so this one that I found said, leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal.
Art.
So does that sound right to y'all?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, because I feel like when I was growing up, I was, the idea of a leader was someone that was
Oof. Wow, that would have sucked.
yeah, caught the wine, guys. We almost spilled a lot of wine. We only spilled some. I gotta take care of this.
Yeah.
All right.
We back?
Yep. So I feel like when I was a kid, the definition of a leader was kind of just a big, loud person that took over a room and because that's what our teachers were and that kind of thing.
Okay, so
And
teachers
then-
were your first versions of leaders.
Yeah, I mean your parents,
I
but
feel parents too.
yeah, I mean obviously
Yeah.
you
But
learn
as a
behaviors
kid,
from
you
your
thought
parents.
that? You were like, my parents are leaders.
Well, if I
No.
looked at Dad and he walked into a room and he just sat down quietly, I'd be like, okay, so I can't talk here. It's just it's just you mimic your parents.
It's
as
kind
a
of
kid.
like an authoritative
Yeah.
figure.
Okay.
Yeah. It's you kind of associate it with an authoritative figure because they have power, but we're never really taught different types of leadership.
And so that's why I was going with as you get older, I started to see a leader could be. It doesn't have to be there's only one leader in this group of people.
Okay.
It's parts of this different people in this group can be leaders in different ways, and it's just about supporting that team mentality and just not having everyone is their own individual that's just stuck on this one thing. It's we're all building each other up, and even if you're not super great at this one skill, you could still be a leader in a different way.
I think that's really interesting because for me, as someone who went to business school, essentially, they were talking about, obviously the different versions of leadership and leaders, and they were talking about how the evolution of leadership has become more collaborative versus in the past where it was more like dictator-ish, and not even just like by historical context, but I feel like that's a very American way of thinking, because I don't know what it looks like in other governments in other countries, but like, the whole idea of democracy and being a collaborative environment, and that's like a very like new age thing, so for us to see as we grow up to see leaders as also part of the team is very different than seeing like a boss, and like the difference between a boss being a leader and like that kind of stuff,
No, that's valid.
Yeah. Although I do, you kind of reminded me of it, thinking of like the older ideation of like a leader, and like when I went to it made me think of when I went to Ireland, and we were talking about like, I think this was right around the time, Donald Trump had like just become president, and we were talking about, for some reason in the taxi in Ireland, the guy decided to bring him up. And he was saying like, obviously he's going to be a leader because he's, the guy running against the woman. And it's like that old like sexist mentality that like even other countries still might have that idea of like, well, a woman can't really be a leader.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Damn.
It's like you have to unlearn it to like adjust to it, and then women will be out here like being leaders. Leaders. Literally.
Yeah.
Like leading.
Yeah, most of
By the Google definition.
to lead. They will be to leading.
But don't get like the recognition, or they're not like the ones that are, I don't know, like seen as that like leader.
Yeah, they're usually seen as aggressive or abrasive, or like, why is this bitch talking? You know, like, or like annoying, because of misogyny.
Yeah.
But another thought that came to my mind when I was thinking about like how I see, when you brought up like what you saw as a leader growing up and whatnot, I always thought about how my first idea of a leader when I was a kid was like, who's the president? That was always like, that's what a leader was who's running the country, or like, it was never like captain of the football team, or like, you know what I mean? Like, or the other non-traditional ways of like what leaders are. Like, it was never just like who's in charge. It was just like, oh, leadership is government.
Yeah.
I like how you like were like, so if I'm gonna look for a leader, I'm going to go to the top of this fucking
yeah, it was never anything chill. It was like, what is the highest power? The highest
Who
level
can affect
of
me the most? Like, if I got it in with this one guy, like,
okay, chill. You're the worst. I actually hate you.
You're welcome.
Oh my god, that was so good. Oh man. But it's still like that.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's different.
Well.
Pass.
Bye. How about you, Maui? What about like when you were a kid? Like, what was your version of a leader versus like now?
I think I definitely like resonate with the whole someone who's like loud, or someone who like takes up space and like has like that power to like draw people to them and like just like bring people together and stuff. But like I feel like I would see like different versions, like whether it's like in the classroom with like amongst like our classmates and stuff, or I definitely like would like see my parents as leaders and stuff. But yeah, like anyone who has like the ability to like draw people to them and like kind of influence like those people to like make decisions or
so
change behaviors.
Like, it kind of sounds like a bully is seen as a leader.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't never really bullied. I mean, okay, I was like maybe once, but like, I feel like a bully is kind of favored in leadership. Yet, even the teachers are too scared to fucking discipline the bully. That's when you know, you're like, oh, it's over. It's a wrap. Yeah.
But going back to something that you said earlier, can you define what you mean by take up space?
I'd say someone who like draws attention and like has the ability to. That's a good question. I'm trying to think again.
Because I had a boss that I told her she takes up space.
Oh no.
And it was so bad because I meant it in the most common, like the kindest way, and she got pissed for weeks. And then I eventually got to explaining, like, when you're a performer, if you don't take up space, no one looks at you. And she's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I love you, man. Like, you know, I was like, please, like, take it, like, not as...
Not the physical?
Yeah, because, like...
Sharon, you're taking up a lot of space right now. Maybe you shouldn't have eaten that Oreo.
Yeah, like, it was just bad.
No, that's like a personal thing. She got... But, like...
I really fucked up. Like,
is it like your... It's like your aura, or like your energy is like...
It, like,
just
feels
like,
so wrong.
it's there.
Like, yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, yo.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you
Goes
could be
both
having
ways.
a great day and that one person comes in and they're just like, what the fuck's up with these napkins? And you're just like, it's like, I don't know, man. You know, that's a form of leadership, turning the whole vibe.
Yeah.
Turning the whole vibe.
Because you have, like, that power, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, it goes back to taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
For me, now that I've been through so many goddamn leadership experiences, and like it's just been drilled into me through like every leadership training or whatever thing I've gone to, and it's obviously evolved. But like, what I would prefer to see in a leader, or like things that I would like to see in myself that I hope others see in me when I choose to lead, like the qualities I look for are like someone who facilitates inclusively. So someone who's very aware of like the people in the room and can like read things emotionally. Like emotional intelligence is huge.
Yeah.
Or like
That's
make
huge.
sure that everyone is included in the conversation. Like if we're having a conversation and like somebody's been quiet the whole time, I'm not gonna be like, hey, say something. I'm gonna just be like, do you feel comfortable speaking right now? Or like, what do you think about this? You know? Also somebody who listens to what other people are saying, and not just listening to speak, but actually listens and responds to what other people are saying.
Like to understand.
Yeah. And to like dig deeper into what other people are saying, rather than just be like, okay, heard you, moving on. You know, it's like, no.
You did not hear me.
You didn't address what I said. Another thing is like following up on things, you know, like on actions or things that you said that you were gonna do. It's like following up and being like, hey, look, like I haven't done this thing because I was doing something else, and like I know it's still on my mind, you know. But these are all things that like are incorporated in the workplace too. Like these aren't just things that you do when you're leading an event or when you're like, I don't know, like creating something with a group of people. Like these are things that like you're gonna have to do when you enter the workplace, no matter what your profession is, period. Like you could be a nurse, you could be an admin assistant, you could be like plumber. You still need to do all of these things because you're gonna get fired if you don't.
Yeah.
Another thing I like in leadership is somebody who's really prepared. So people who plan shit out and like think strategically. So like thinking big picture of how your actions impact other people, and also being like going back to like reading the room is like knowing your team and playing to your team's strengths. You know, so if like for example you know that like somebody's not a good writer but they're a good public speaker, then let them speak. You know, and then give the writing part to somebody who's a good writer. You know, also highlighting your team's strengths so that they get visibility. So, you know, honestly, being a leader is just supposed to be about offloading the light from yourself onto other people and giving other people space to be seen.
Yeah.
But another thing that I think is super cliche, but is real, is like being someone who's willing to take a risk because you have to take a risk to learn from a potential failure, you know? But honestly, for the most part, whenever you do take a risk, there's usually a reward, you know, a high reward. And the reward could be the failure, you know? Because it's like, that was God being like, that's not it.
Yep.
And you being like, all right, is this like...
Also, you learn the best from failure. Like, because most, you know, like, after a failure, you get this feeling in your body of, I am never going to have this happen again. And then it's just like, all right, cool. Now I know exactly what's wrong, so I can avoid that. And then one, it's just baby steps. Obviously, you're not going to be perfect at everything on your second try.
Facts.
But until you do something, and it's, a lot of my current position is like trial by fire. Like that's how it's been explained. So like you learn something wrong, you got to just learn, okay, great. It's now time to do it right. Like
that sounds like a book title.
Trial by
fire.
Trial by fire.
I read it. Oh man.
No, I agree.
Yeah. How about you, Maui? Did you have any are there any other things off of that
Yeah.
you'd like to share?
I definitely agree with everything you said. I'd also, like you said, like communicates clearly. Just also like kind of being detail oriented, because I feel like sometimes like when some details are missed, it just like avoids extra work or like unnecessary things being done. And then I'd say also like being open-minded, and like willing to just do things differently if someone has like an idea, because sometimes like you can get really comfortable. Like comfort is really common, and people are just like scared of like trying new things. And then also just like sometimes you need structure, I feel like, and sometimes like some leaders don't understand that, and like creating one that, like you said, highlights strengths and weaknesses so that it's like just functions better. And like understanding the personality types, the working styles like on your team, like is that person like, is it better for you to like go up to them physically and ask a question, like is it better for you to like IM them, like call them, like just really understanding your people so that like you're just aware about like how you all work like well.
And I feel like you can't really get that kind of understanding if you don't get to know the people that you are like communicating and interacting and working with in whatever kind of capacity, whether it's like community organizing with like just a large group of people that you're social with, or even at like a workplace. Like you do have to build that personal connection with the person so you can know, or getting information from other people of how they communicate, because some people are better at texting, some people are better emailing, some people are phone calls, some face-to-face kind of stuff, like whatever you have to figure out of how to communicate with people is unique to each situation.
Definitely.
That's like always my first question in an interview is like when they're just like, do you have any questions? And I'm just like, yeah, I would like, what's your communication style? They're like, oh my god, yes, what's yours?
Yes is my answer to everything.
That's when I'm like, I cannot work here. Yes.
That's a good filter. Good filter.
Well, Simon, do you know what yours is? Like your preferred communication style? Are you more of a like upfront person? Are you someone that like prefers shit in email?
I feel like it depends on what it is. I'm very much like I don't know, I like the person-to-person contact. Like I'd rather hear something explained, but then again, I'd also like to have like an email or like something verbal so that I can like always look back on it, But yeah.
Okay, so like for me, like I'm not one of those people who retains any information when you tell me anything. So like you can be like, okay. But like if I'm walking down the hall and then like Susie comes up to me and Susie's like, hey Azeb, like I totally saw your email and I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna forget everything you just said until you actually respond to the email that I just sent you, and then I read it later.
That's true.
But I'm also like not someone who can respond to things on the spot. Like I'm one of those people who like I need to process what the hell just happened and then like prepare for it. Like I have to like think about it and then like actually make a decision. So I'm more of a like slower side communicator, if that makes sense, or decision maker.
I feel like if I have if the answer is just like on the top of my brain, like it's just like a no-brainer for me, then it's like I can just like shoot something back out. But like if I have to think, it's just like, okay, we're gonna take a step out of this situation. It's just like whatever the hell just happened, you can give me a second, judge my face for whatever, and then I'm gonna give you the most concise way of saying whatever the fuck is going on in my
head. I'd say I prefer like face to face.
Yeah,
but then if it's a lot of details, I'll be like, okay, thank you, can you just like follow it up with like an email?
True.
Just because like it gives me context too, to see like, is it urgent? Like were you stressed when you were telling me?
True.
Or like I don't know, but it depends like on the situation.
I was gonna say, if it's something that's like confrontational, I would so much rather do that in person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like if it's something that's
or at
like,
least a call.
Well,
yeah, like I have to hear or see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to have something that I can always look back on. Like,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like
Something
that
in
one
writing.
message. Yeah.
Fuck that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I quit.
You know?
You got ammo?
Sometimes it goes in your favor though. Ooh, I love it. I love when a leader
Yes.
like provides you or like asks you about your long-term goals.
Ooh,
I was like,
that's
wow,
so sweet.
you care about me.
People care about your skills and your growth.
Share.
And then they'll like, you'll tell them, and then they subtly like be making those connections, or like we'll set up things for you because they know like, yes, you're here and you're obviously like working and doing something, but you're trying to like move forward and like do something else as well.
Yep.
But I noticed that this summer I was like, wow, this is different.
Yeah. Even like my office, like we've had 2 people move to new positions, and like my boss was saying like, yeah, they came to me, they talked to me, and I even wrote them a reference letter because I know you guys are off to bigger and better things, and I want to be involved in that. Like, you know, it's like you don't want to have like a employee just totally be like, so I got a totally better position that pays $10,000 more and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, how do
it's
you
like
feel as
there's
a leader to do that?
but it's also like it's a good reflection on the organization that you work for or whoever you're working with to be like, oh, I'm investing in you as a person in your professional and personal growth and development, and like you're not just a paycheck for the things that you do for me. It's like you're an actual human being. Which is like so huge if you don't think about that going into working for somewhere or like, I don't know, I feel like as a student it's easy to feel that way, you know, to feel like I'm just a transaction here. You know, especially like if you're investing in an institution and the institution is not reflecting your experience, which is probably why we're so traumatized from college. It always comes back.
Trauma, baby.
But on the bright side, what are like, you know what was interesting that all of us kind of said was like how we see our parents as leaders. And that made me think, is that because all of our parents are community leaders? You know what I mean? Like, we both of our parents are super deep. Your parents are super deep. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever experienced life with my parents not being super deep in something.
And me lecturing them. No.
Yeah. You know, so I'm
Take
like,
care of it.
are we just products?
Seriously.
Major practical!
No.
We know you're
like,
listening.
The amount of times we've had to say, hey, Mom, why are you throwing a party for anyone other than us? And it's just like, she needs help. And it's like, no, she does. But it's not you, boo-boo. Like,
but I'm also like, is that because of our culture? You know, like, because we're just like, oh, we have to help this person. Like, we're obliged to help these people. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that, no. It's just our parents are really good people.
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of like, for one person it can be like it's the culture, but then like if you have this personality type, then like you're more prone to like just doing the most. Okay. Or like doing more than others. Okay. Like I do think it's definitely a cultural thing. Like you if you go to Ethiopia, like the whole neighborhood, like everyone knows everyone, like you're just aware about like everyone's needs or like assisting and everything. And then also here it's like they like came here and they like have their own organizations. Like that's crazy. But I would say I think it's a combination of both, because I have aunts and uncles that also like know how to set boundaries. Yeah.
That's it. That's what it is.
So good.
And I honestly did not learn. I didn't know this until like a year ago.
Would you say they're officially Americanized, or are they still very in touch with home?
That's true.
You know?
That's true. It's
like,
they're more Americanized than my parents.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, would you be able to get away with that back home?
Yeah, it is a cultural thing.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, man.
It's
because for us, we're always just like, well, we're half white, half Ethiopian, so we're just like, okay, our white side would probably not open their arms to like somebody who just came to America
Yeah.
and host them in their home, whereas mom will meet somebody at the airport and be like, come to Thanksgiving!
Literally.
Which literally happens.
That happened.
But like,
Yeah, same.
That happened like 2
yeah,
or 3
exactly.
years
You know what I
ago.
mean?
Like,
It's just like the level of difference, and it's like nothing against that. Like, yo, you don't want a stranger in your home, you don't have to host anybody.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's your boundary. Good for you. You're allowed to say no,
yeah.
True.
which we'll get into later. But like,
But you know how many, like,
Yeah.
you don't know how that impacts that person either.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I am my parents' child. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, I guess also, like, when you see the impact or, like, when you experience it yourself, you're just, like, more prone to open your arms.
yeah,
Yeah.
To be like-
it's just learned behavior.
Yeah.
Also, it's always, I don't know, like, as much stress comes along with, like, doing things to organize for other people, like, there is, like, some sort of sense of satisfaction that you do get when
Yeah.
things all fall into place and it's, like, all a success and, like, everything is working. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even just having that person over for Thanksgiving, like, when
Yeah.
you just
It's
go
a
to the bathroom
memory.
and you come back and you see them talking to a family
Yeah.
member and you're just like, oh, like, you know, like, you helped that person's day be so
Yeah.
much better.
Because
Like,
otherwise, it's like,
Definitely.
what would they have been doing on this holiday that's not their holiday, that they don't know anything about, and like they're probably
Exactly.
just gonna be home watching TV or
they
something.
don't even have family that they can get in contact with.
On a
like-
day when they know a bunch of other people are together.
Yeah.
But also, like, for me, I don't know, I think about all the times that I've hosted people in my house and how I've been hosting and not experiencing. And, like, you know, I love
That's a good
having
one.
people over. Like, I love having people over. And I love being a host because I'm a fucking boss-ass host.
Yeah.
But also because, like, I have a great time while I'm hosting.
Yeah.
But there are definitely times where I'm like, damn, I wish I could have actually sat and hung out with my friends
Yeah.
instead of just been like, hey, do you need a shot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which also, like, is fine with me because sometimes I'm like, I'm sick of all of you and, like, I just want you to all get drunk and I can go do my thing over here. But then, like, there are times where I'm just like, yeah, it would be nice if somebody else could go talk to the cops when the party's about to get shut down instead of me.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna talk about that. Yeah, no, I had the SATs the next day, so anyways, oh god. Another day, another story. We'll get into that. Not to.
But I think it brings it to that aspect of, like, community organizing is a communal effort. It's not an individual
Yeah.
effort. So,
Facts.
like, it really requires everyone to be involved and, like, contribute in some type of way, or else it's going to fall on the shoulders of, like, these specific people who are going to get burnt out because
Yeah.
naturally you're human. You're also balancing your own, like, personal life things as well. Like, it's not, you're not superhuman. Like,
Yeah.
you just need to learn to, like, yeah. So it's, like, just distributing the effort is, like, really important.
Facts. Yeah. I think going back to that, though, is, like, another form of leadership is showing up as a leader for yourself. Like, sometimes and I've been thinking about this a lot of, like, how do I take the lead in my own life for me? And, like, what are the things that I am choosing to do that are me being a leader for myself? So, like, I like to think of myself as my own executive assistant, but also my own boss. And it's true. And my therapist said, like, you know, you are living your life like you are trying to fulfill the need for somebody else, you know, because this is some deep shit. So she was like, wait,
Please,
she
go
was
ahead.
like, she was like, you look at everybody like they're your mom. And I'm like, whoa! And then, yeah, right? So I was just like, yo, you're not wrong! Because I was thinking about, like, my boss and, like, the people at the time that I was intimidated of and the people that I felt like I needed to please and, like, why I was disappointing them. And I was like, oh, well, I can't be a disappointment because, like, you know? And she's like, what you need to tell yourself every time you feel that way is, they're not my mom. And I was just like, you're right. And so, like, anytime that I found myself feeling like disappointed in myself or being really hard on myself for like not doing something correctly, or like for making these people who like I don't give a shit about feel like they just like I was disappointing them in some way.
Yeah.
I like had to tell myself like, well, they're not my mom, so like why do I feel that way? You know what I mean? It's just like, what is it about them, like this power that they have over me? But it was like equivalent to that because like I wasn't living with my mom and I didn't have to respond to her anymore like that because like me and her have a totally different relationship now.
Yeah.
But it's just that matter of like you grow up thinking like I need to please this person because they're my parents, and then you're just like that translates over into the workplace and that translates over into school of just like you know, you don't even realize like how much you are actually putting on yourself because the standards have been set so fucking high since you were born of like, I need to show up because it's life or death because it's basically my parent at this moment, you know?
What's your therapist contact information?
Yo, she is the best, but she's also like not accessible. So like we kind of broke up.
Aww.
It's so sad. I miss her so much every day. I mean, but also I only went to her like once every 3 months when I knew I was about to be really anxious.
Oh, okay.
And then she'd be like, Azeb, like you don't even need me. Like she wouldn't say that, but like she gave me the look, and I was like, you're right, Chini. Shout out to Chini Chan. Go find her.
No. Wait.
Tell her I love her. No, she's the best. But anyways, going back to the topic of showing up for yourself, I've just been thinking of, because I'm in this period for me where I'm stepping back a lot from everything. From like everything that I was doing in high school and college, and I tried to do this in college too, where like I remember Faith can attest to this. When I was a senior in high school, I was president of everything. And then I was like, fuck that, Project Normal. So then when I became a freshman, I was like, I am not going to participate in any other kind of activities. Sadly, I went to Simmons College, where you wouldn't make friends unless you joined an organization. So it was like the culture there was you have to be a leader. Yeah. Because that's the only way you're going to make friends. So I was like, fuck, man. So then freshman year, I didn't do shit. I didn't really make that many friends. So I was like, womp. And then I started to like get more involved. And then after I graduated, I was like, okay, word. Now all I have to do is just do this at work. And then I'll succeed, right? And then I found myself doing it at work. And I was like, okay, this is boring. So then I started doing a bunch of other shit. And I was like, well, here I go again. Doing all the toxic things I'm not supposed to be doing to myself. So what I found for myself is figuring out what are the things I'm investing my time and energy in that benefit me. So I'm not just doing things that benefit others, because I deserve to also be benefiting from the programs in which I am organizing, that I'm spending my time doing with so much effort, right? So for me, I've just like chose those things that I'm like, okay, I have no control over those things, and do those things actually serve the purpose and mission that I'm trying to achieve for myself long term, for my career? Like, are these intersectional things to like the foundation of my being, you know? So that's why things like this podcast and dance and like other things that I do are things that I can do without feeling resentful about. You know what I mean? Yeah. How about you guys? How do you like show up for yourself?
You mean like self-care kind of stuff? Or?
I mean, that's a form of leadership for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't exist without you. Yeah,
so definitely a good amount of self-care, which I learned about a lot my senior year of college with my therapist and with just my social work internship at the homeless shelter. Like a lot of my one-on-ones with my supervisor, like she would just, she'd be like, are you, doing like self-care, because it was a homeless shelter. Like, it was like a very heavy thing to keep coming back to. And like, you would leave sometimes not knowing even if like your clients are okay, and then being like, okay, I hope they're there when I get there, like, this Thursday, but whatever happens in life happens. And so you really had to be able to like, be like, okay, it's not just like self-care, fuck it, I'm gonna go get drunk this weekend. It's like self-care, I'm going to sleep at a normal time.
Seriously?
So I can sleep. Like, I'm eating fucking vegetables so that I have energy during the day instead of just a bunch of like, microwavable meals. Like, it's things that you're just kind of like, wow, I'm becoming a 30-year-old, but I kind of need to be a 30-year-old right now. Like, it's just like, at some point you need to just grow up a little bit, but also find the balance of like, okay, well, I can still have fucking Lucky Charms in the breakfast. It's like I can still be me. I don't have to like totally say fuck every single thing that I like. Like, you show up for yourself, but you don't have to throw your whole self away.
Everything is glorified, especially on social media. Like the whole, I need to eat a bag of chips and get blackout drunk this weekend because my life was so fucking hard. And it's like, okay, like I understand people do that, and sometimes you need to do that, but not all the time. And then people think that it's okay because they see memes about it, so they're like, oh, other people do this, so that means that's what I should be doing to take care of myself. And it's like, is that really you taking care of yourself? But it's also like, then I see these other memes of people who are like, you meditating is not going to be enough for you to take care of yourself. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And it takes a moment to like reap the benefits of
yeah.
I've had so many like failed attempts, but like it takes time, and then once you see it, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah. Because it's not like that one thing is gonna fix all your problems. It's just a start. Like, you know, it's like it's just about putting a foot forward towards something different. Like it's not about like, oh, I know this is gonna be the end goal and this is a transaction that I'm doing with myself. It's no, I'm fucking trying something. Like I'm a human being and I just need something new in my life. Yeah. Change is good.
Fact.
Ooh. Gotta change.
No, not, Parable of the Sower.
Read Parable of the Sower.
Read it.
Octavia Butler.
I'm
gonna write that one down.
Sure.
I'd say I show up for myself by, I think first, like, I had a hard time accepting that I was doing a lot. Like, my friends would, like, recognize it, or I was just, like, in denial because I was kind of using it as, like, as a distraction, or, like, trying to, initially it started, honestly, in high school, because you're like, oh, if you want to get into college, like, you need to build up your profile. And I'm like, oh my God, first generation. Like, my family's relying on me. Like, I gotta, like, I need to go in. Like, I need to join, like, every club, da-da-da-da. But then, like, naturally, I did also, like, love the process. Like, I love bringing people together, being able to meet new people. Like, you create strong bonds. Like, you feel some, like, rewarding aspects, like, towards the end once you, like, complete something. But I think the moment that, like, I was aware and accepted that I was in the wrong, in the sense that I was, like, doing too much, like, I was burnt out, starting to, like, accept that and, like, go to, like, therapy. And my friend, actually, one of my best friends, I think it was, like, sophomore year, was like, if it was your last day on earth, like, today, like, what activity or hobby, like, would you do all day? And I was just like, I kind of just sat there and I was like, I would dance. So then she was like, okay, so, like, implement that, like, in your week. So, like, I started shifting that and being like, all right, I'm gonna dance, like, 3 times a week. And, like, for me, that was, like, a big changer, or, like, that's honestly what got me through, like, undergrad and everything. And I was like, okay, like, I need to dance, like, 3 times a week, because that genuinely brings me joy. So so that was, like, one of the ways, I guess, like, quote unquote, showing up for yourself and, like, just checking in. But, like, sometimes you're just in so much denial and, like, so much pressure, you're just like, all right, next task or whatever,
right? Because you're just numb.
But that's also, like, the school mentality of like, you need to be doing as much as possible, otherwise no one's going to be interested in you, like, going into college or getting a job, or, like, literally you need, you know, it's that whole thing with, like, oh, you need to be, this is an entry-level position, but we need 16 years experience. And you're just like, bitch.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And one of my friends started asking, like, he'll just, like, randomly be like, how's your spirit? And I'm like, what?
Good friend.
So
but it's, like, just, like, learning how to, I think, like, being able to, like, identify and, like, really genuinely check in with yourself. Because I think a lot of times, like you said, like, being busy is glorified, and we don't, like, how is my spirit? Like, you really are just like, wait.
You said the core of my being?
In fact, like, how
you
is my energy?
care about me?
So, like, it's important, and I think, just, like, surrounding yourself around people who understand, like, checking in.
Yeah.
And, like, who really are holding you accountable and are like, look, stop doing this, or, like, I think it's best for you to, like, take a step back or whatever. So,
Yeah, the blunt honesty.
Yeah. That's love.
Yeah.
We love that shit.
Love each other, love yourself.
Love your friends. So, Maui, for you, like, what do you think made you, like, start taking on, like, leadership roles or get involved in community organizing, you know?
I think it honestly came to me, like, naturally. Like, yes, formally, like I said, in high school, like, you had to do these things, or, like, you had to lead these things to, like, get into college, quote unquote, or get into a good college. But, like, I feel like I have a deep appreciation and love for community, since, like, I'm essentially like a product of my parents' community. And my mom migrated here when she was like 21. My dad was 17. So like that's very challenging, and it's not like they willingly like came here. Like they came here with like a lot of complex emotions, being able to adjust to a new country, like learn a new language, culture. Like when you really see like what the journey, like she would tell me stories like when she was transitioning here, working like 3 jobs and everything, like it's really like that community aspect that like really allowed them to thrive and like get to where they are, like emotionally and socially. So seeing, I guess like I value that like because I've like seen how much impact that makes, and it's not really easy to like measure impact, I guess, like with community organizing, or like you can't really like, unless like you, I don't know, strategically like plan it out or something, but that's just not really like authentic. But yeah, so I would say like it stems a lot from like just like my history and like lineage, and then also I was like looking back at like photo albums and like VHS tapes and stuff, and I noticed like I'd always be like, my family just like organizes a lot, like it's like birthdays, graduations, season transitions,
and I think it's like our love language.
Yeah,
but I also think about like when you listen to this shit, when you pull up to a graduation party, what's the first thing that happens to you when you pull up to a graduation party?
You just start kissing and seeing everyone.
Okay, and then after that what happens?
Wait for food?
No, you wait for food. The girls get dragged into the fucking kitchen.
That's what
happens. So already we are being conditioned from the minute we walk into a party to be the host. Even if it's not our party and we don't even know who's graduating. We are being dragged into the kitchen to help in the kitchen, to then pass out plates, to then eat after everyone else.
It was always,
no matter what,
just the girls too. Yeah, you're right. Because I would want to do stuff because I would get so fucking bored, and they'd be like, "Go back to the table." And I'm like, "Can I just give out tea or something?" And they're like, "No," and it's like, "All right, fine." Like, I know my play is being fucking bored.
God forbid I sit down with you.
Like,
and then I sit there and I pull the white card. That's when I'm like, I'm American. They're like, she's Scott's daughter.
No habla Ethiopian. Like,
that's when I'm like, what? I gotta go to the bathroom. And then all the little kids are chilling in the bathroom.
Like playing video games, like punching each other.
Literally.
And it's like you never thought about why.
Like, work with what you got, you know?
Literally, like, you're like, I ain't trying to pass out plates.
Imagination.
Oh my god.
Just real. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
just,
you're fine.
A thought that
like I didn't realize like we organize a lot, naturally. And I guess like when you grow up in that type of environment, like you're just like very used to, which I'm like really grateful for, and like being around like a lot of loved ones and everything. But like as you get older, as technology has also like evolved and everything, it's not necessarily like that anymore. So like I feel like throughout my high school and college experiences, like I was trying to maintain that environment through these like activities. So like it was like,
god,
yeah, I had this revelation like right before this episode, but I was like, what, like why can't I like stop,
bro? It's because we are creating our own community of what our community was. Oh my god.
That reminds me of an episode of BoJack Horseman where it's like the lady, like her, there's a character, Princess Carolyn, and she has like this really hard, high stress life where like she's constantly managing and doing shit for like all these actors and all this shit, and she's talking about how like she wishes she could just have an easy, simple life of sitting in a rocking chair, like, and having like, you know, someone be her servant. And then even in her fantasy, shit starts going wrong that she needs to fix, and she's just like, what the fuck? Like, why can't my fantasy even be easy? And then the lady in the fantasy is like, well, because, you know, this isn't the life you want. The life you want is the one you have right now. Yeah. And it's like, damn. Like, you know, it's like you create, as much as, you know, the world does do whatever the fucking world does, and you have to adapt to it. Like, you do create the world you live in. Like, you know, like, when you're stressed out about all the community organizing that you're doing, like, it's not like you didn't put your hand up and say, yeah, I'd love to do this. Like,
right.
Yeah, taking responsibility for your actions.
Fact. And I think also people get comfortable like when you're reliable or you do something well.
Yep.
And that like I noticed even coming back from Baltimore, like I had to set some boundaries because I noticed sometimes like my family will like just it's like second nature, be like, oh hey, can you do this or like whatever, and it's like no, I don't have the energy right now, or like trying to like other people need to learn these skill sets, and like maybe I'll enjoy it more if other people are also involved and stuff like that. So like I think it's really just like learning how to say no.
But
and
also like when you do say no to your family, they take it so personally.
That's true.
Because in Ethiopian culture, it's like you can't say no to your family. You have to do everything for your family. There is no other way, you know? So it's like when your parent or whoever, your auntie, is like, hey, Azeb, can you go buy this at the convenience store? And you're just like, I can't because I have to take the train to get home from work and I won't get home until like 9 p.m. So by the time that you want this thing, you're not even going to want it anymore. Yeah. You know? So like, or you could just be like, no, because I don't have the money. Or no, because whatever. Right? Or just no. And they're just like, you don't love me? And then you're just like, shit, man. Like, it's not that serious. You know?
Yeah. No, I love you, but I need like...
No, but I'm not coming. And it's like, we gotta stop taking shit so personal.
Yeah. Because then it's like that kind of thing will also transition into the workplace, where like you learn from your parents to take everything super fucking serious and emotionally react, and then you go out to school, you do it, you go out and, you know, like, until you unlearn that behavior, it's still other things you just subconsciously pick up.
It's really easy to be reactive. Yes, but I think that's like not even that's not just our culture thing. I think that's just human.
That's just a human
that's
being.
just a human thing.
Social work Simon coming out.
Social work Simon.
Oh yeah, I guess also one point also is like scientifically, like it's been proven to like there's like this whole field of like community psychology, like it actually impacts like your well-being. Like there are benefits from like community, that sense of belonging. We have like human needs and like innate things that we need to like cater to. So I think that's also another driver for me. And like I've experienced it too. Like I've seen a lot of benefits. So like being able to like go and like see a journal article that shows like this is scientifically proven to like also impact your well-being or your health also. That's like my public health side that's like coming out and being like, yeah, improve your health. But yeah, so that's another driver for me, and like that's also impacted like all of my efforts.
That's real, because like we live in a world where, you know, we're all so isolated, and like, did you see that there was a thing on Facebook I saw of this artist who took out people's cell phones and pictures, and it showed just how alone we really are all day. Like how like people will just sit there and stare at the phone for like an hour on the train.
And back
when
in the
phone's
day,
taken out, then you're just looking at your hand.
Oh
like,
my god.
Yep. And when I was in the sustainability class, it was like spirituality and sustainability. It talked about like screen addiction and how we're addicted to the cell phone, the computer, the television. Like it's all just screens that we're staring at all day, so we don't have to look at people.
Hit me.
Even like when I go to the South, it's like different, you know, like you're on the train and it's like it's normal to talk to someone. It's also like cultural too, like depending on where you are. But like,
I mean, even I don't know, living on the East Coast, especially in the city, it's like, you know, and you like are working in a job or like something where you feel like you need to be on your phone all the time so that you can respond to things. I mean, especially when you're a busy person, right? Like there's this like idea of busy, and to the point where it occupies your whole life, and that's why you're on your phone or that's why you're on your laptop. Because I remember I took this class that was called I forget, it was like media and like social something, I forget, but like I'll ask. But there was a segment that we did called Does a Fish Know When It's Wet? And it was like, think about that first of all.
Come on.
Does a fish know?
This is so much. No.
You know what I mean? But do you get that?
Yeah, you're so like ingrained.
Like you're so in it, like do you even know that you're in it? You know? So, but it's like that's how they survive. Because they need to be in water. So it's a matter of like, we are so deep in it that it's like, we don't even recognize when we're in it because that's how deep it is. And we had to do a thing where we measured how much screen time we had, like how much like time we were exposed to a screen in a day, and it would be like advertisements that you saw outside counted, or like however many hours you watched TV, or how many hours you were on your laptop doing work, or how long you were on your phone scrolling through Instagram, you know what I mean? Like all of those things counted. And when you think of how many hours that you're on a screen, whether it's intentional or unintentional, just from like outside forces, it's like, whoa, that's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
You know? Even today at the dinner I was at, I didn't want to take out my phone because I knew I had to be there and be present and actually like socialize with like people I was working with for dinner. And I was like, okay, like whatever. And then when I told you guys how bougie the dinner was and how bad I wanted to take my phone out and take a fucking picture of how nice that food was, but I didn't because I was like, my millennial is showing right now. But like, you know, the fact that I even thought that, and everybody else at the table was probably like, yeah, this is normal. Not only because they probably have dinner like that all the time, but like, but because like, they're just like, I don't feel the impulse to need to take a picture of this to share it with someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, share it with someone who's, you're most likely going to share it with like your mom or like your best friend or whatever. But for them, it's like, oh, like, you know, I'm just doing this here and now.
Yeah.
You know?
So can I bring this to a weird level that I thought of because you said the whole does a fish know when it's wet?
Do it.
So it made me think of like, okay, well, when does a fish know when it's wet? It's when a fish isn't wet anymore. So when you take the fish out of the environment, what's the first thing it does? It starts flailing. It starts freaking the fuck out. Like, you know, it's like that automatic jerk reaction of I can't survive here. And a fish literally cannot survive outside of water. Yeah. So, duh, it's going to do that. We will do the exact same thing. Like, obviously, you had a more microscopic fucking version of that. Just having that inner conflict of, like, there is caviar in this goddamn butter. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Literally!
Like, are you kidding me? And so, like, our automatic reaction is everyone else in the world needs to see this because I'm going to eat it right now. And the other people at the table are, I'm going to eat this. Like, it's just totally different.
And just be in the moment and then go tell their friends about it later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need proof!
So, like, you know, we built ourselves into that way. Like,
No one can believe me.
That's true.
But
no,
we
that's
can survive
valid.
outside of it. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
but
like,
you can still survive.
Yeah.
There was also this class that I worked with, and I think it was middle school, but the teacher like made the kids like put their phones out and then like everyone tally like how many notifications they had in like 20 minutes. And it was great. Like
Holy
shit. They were in high school. But like she said
God.
like thousands.
Yeah.
And she was just like, that was just an exercise to show like y'all are on your phones a lot, and like it just grasps your attention like all the time.
Oh my God, my brain. But now as an adult, when I think about like my brain space, like how much my brain can actually hold, like I went to this like thing that was like a professional development training, just talking about how much information we actually capture and how like when we fill our brains with a bunch of information, we don't have space to continue creating ideas. So like what you need to do is dump that information somewhere, so that you can have space to actually think, you know? And so like when we're being constantly bombarded with notifications, we don't have space to think. So we're just kind of functioning, but we're not functioning at the highest capacity in which we could be, finding creative solutions or like being efficiently, you know? So that was a thought that came to my mind. But coming back to this, how does a fish know when it's wet? How do you recognize when it's time to step down?
You get burnt. like
if we could insert that sound bite of just like crackling bacon, like, which it was horrible. I'm sorry, you all have to hear that. But Maui, would you like to elaborate on what that looks like of being crispy burnt to the ground?
Yes, ashes
in
everywhere.
The depths of hell.
I'm gonna start with the clinical definition, just so like we can just, you know, understand. But like honestly, it wasn't until recently, I think it was this summer, when burnout can actually be like diagnosed as like a medical condition. Damn. I'm not sure if y'all know this or knew this.
I feel like it is in China though.
It probably is. Yeah. We're just kind of behind, you know, all the time. But yeah, so I guess, like, it's just, like, having feelings of, like, energy depletion or, like, exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, feelings of, like, being really negative or just having a lot of cynicism when it's related to your job, and, like, just reduced professional efficacy. So, like, that's all, like, related, though, like, only to your job, and it's just, like, when you feel, like, distant and inefficient, but it can't really... It doesn't apply to, like, personal experiences. I know, like, sometimes your personal can, like, pour into your professional. But, like, when you feel that. But I honestly, like, when you... Naturally, for me, it's, like, when something starts feeling like a chore.
Okay.
Like, when just, like, my level of excitement doesn't match the excitement that I had when I was thinking or envisioning about myself doing the work.
Right.
So, like, I think it's just, like, important to, like, understand, like, what burnout looks like for you too, because people have, like, different reactions as well, or, like, different ways of coping with it. If I'm sleep deprived,
Yeah. Say it again.
if I am sleep deprived,
How many hours of sleep you got under
you
your
should
belt?
be getting 7 to 8. I would roll my eyes when people would say this, but I'm like, that's not realistic because I have so many things to do. But it's like,
No,
sis, clear your schedule.
You gotta sleep or your black is gonna crack.
Exactly.
Don't let your black crack.
It's so important, and, like, it's gonna catch up to you later. Like, I know everyone would say that, but, like, you know, you just have to start, like, stepping down from stuff.
Make your
But
facts.
I would just say, like, sleep deprivation was, like, a huge thing, and, like, it's just, like, normalized to, like, just the idea of, like, oh my god, I got, like, 3 hours last night, or, like, oh my god, I put an all-nighter. Yeah, like, especially on my campus, like, it was like that too. And, like, sometimes it's hard too, though, because it's like some people have, like, more leniency, like, if you're working multiple jobs to pay for tuition, you're also taking classes and stuff, like, obviously that's a priority. But, like, it's an extracurricular, like, is it necessary? Is it worth, like, all that wear and tear on, like, your mind, body, spirit, all of that? And just, yeah, so I would know that, like, I was burnt out when I didn't want to be social.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm a social person. I love meeting new people. Like, it's just, like, weird. Like, when you just start, like, not feeling like yourself, you kind of feel like a zombie. You're just all over the place. You're just like, I just need to get through this task and get to a next one.
Facts.
It's like a autopilot mode.
It is.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Oh my god. That reminds me of Click.
Oh.
Did you ever watch Click with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
We watched Click like 40 times.
I love that movie so much. But also just, like, when he chooses to go on autopilot so that he can be, like, at the top of his career, and then he realizes he misses out on his whole family, I'm like, I don't want that to be me.
Spoilers.
Yeah, go watch it. The fuck?
Yeah, it's been like, what, 12 years?
Yeah, it's not old. That's a classic.
It's been 12?
I don't know.
We'll look it up.
I was like, dang, it feels old.
Like,
Google.
yeah, I could look it up. Hold on. How old is Click, the movie? 2006.
Oh my god. Was I right? 13 years.
Whoa! Okay,
Yeah.
Math.
I did it.
See, remember in episode 10 when I said you're really good at math?
Okay, this was a wild guess. Like...
Oh shit. But yeah, were there other points that you wanted to also bring up? In terms of how, other than recognizing, like, when you are burnt out, how to go about taking care of yourself when you're burnt out, if that makes sense.
I'd say, like, I know I confide in, like, people that I really love and trust, and who, like, are close to me, like, who will see me on a day-to-day, because, like, you can text someone, how are you, and, like, you don't actually get, you know, you're just kind of just like, yeah, I'm doing well, or, like, whatever, but it's, like, someone who knows you really well.
Let it rip.
Let it out.
Okay, I was expecting more. Yeah.
No worries. Is that what you're, like, leading to, by the way?
Yes, that part, yeah.
Okay. So, because I was like, yeah, so I would say, like, confiding in, like, loved ones and people that you trust, and, like, see face to face often, just because like you can text someone and be like, hey, how are you, and then it's like you're giving a response, but you might not be like authentic in your response, whatever, depending on like how close you are. Right. But yeah, like being able to check in with that friend and like letting them know about your thought process, your decision, and getting their input, because like oftentimes your friends can see if you're burnt out more than you can. And like they could tell like if your mood has changed, or like if you've been like in a rut, or if this certain situation actually stresses you out more than actually like fulfilling your passion. So like being able, I think that input is like really valuable, and I've really appreciated my friends who've like been honest and like been like, look, like I love you, but you need to like step down, or like I don't think this is like the best for you.
Especially if they're like not entirely involved in the situation, like getting that outside perspective, because it's so much more clear than whatever burnt mind you're using right there. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And it's like you're joining because you're excited about this, or like you're, I don't know, it's like it should be fulfilling, like it shouldn't be draining.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Going back to what you said about like texting your friends, how are you? I feel like even with that, like sometimes you'll want to be honest and get into shit with people, and you don't know what's happening in their life. Like, you know, it's like, you don't know if like they have something big happening, if they're at work, if they literally just can't text, if they're, you know, if they looked at your text and they go, holy shit, that's a long text message, I'm gonna get to them later, but for right now I really can't. Like, you could open your heart and pour it out to someone and just sit there for hours waiting for a response, and it's not even their fault that they can't answer you. Like, you know, it's like there's just so much that you can't be in like, you know, you can't be in control of. Yeah. Like, that could totally tear you down at that low energy moment in your life. So it's like really thinking like, you know, what's the best way to communicate your negative feelings and like get that kind of like out of your system while still being able to, you know, tell people like, hey, like, you know, if someone texts you, how are you doing? Just being like, I'm really not that great, but you want to talk to me later, like if you could call or something. Like, you know, it's just like, I'd love to just get it out. Like, you know, I trust you or whatever. Like, it's just so much better than just pouring your heart into a message.
That's true. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Because even being the person on the other end of that, like, you know, that's usually my initial response of, holy shit, this is a big message. And then it's like, okay, I need to evaluate. Can I put time into this right now? Yeah. Because I need to be emotionally there for this friend.
Yeah.
Like,
you're a good friend.
Yeah. You know, I fucking love my friends. Like, I'd want them to do this for me. Yeah. So I'm going to give them the best version of myself so I could, like, model the behavior I hope to get.
Yeah. Must be nice.
Yeah. Well, I cut bitches out when they suck, so, like... So if you've made it this far, guys,
I love you.
You are select few.
You got a little too hard at that one.
Also, like, not feeling some type of way, too, like, if your friend takes time to respond to that. Yeah. Because, like, it's not just a response with, like, a laughing emoji or whatever. It's, like, you need to actually put, like, thought into it. Like, how can I support this person? So, like, being appreciative of that is, like, important, too.
Yeah.
For me, it's, like, when I know I'm about to dump a bunch of shit on somebody of, like, what's going on with me, I'll just be like, do you have time for this right now?
Yeah, no, that's
or
good.
I'll be like, can I call you later? Or I'll be like, I'm gonna leave you a voice message, but don't listen until you're ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because it's just like, I know it's a lot. Or if I send something and they don't respond, I'll be like, they have other shit going on. Yeah. I know they're not ignoring me on purpose.
Yeah.
You know? Because I would not put those type of people in my life.
Yeah.
That are ignoring me, but I'm serving them equally. You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool. But before you get to the point of, like, burning out, or maybe you're already there, how do you say no, you know? Or, like, how do you manage your feelings of, like, guilt or just, like, disappointment in yourself for not being able to have the capacity? Or, like, what are your thoughts on that, you know? Of just, like, straight up being like, I have to set boundaries, like, I can't do this anymore, you know? Or, like, just actually just being like, no, it's over, you know? Like,
I think naturally I'm a patient person, So, like, in this sense, it kind of, like, it's, like, a negative thing. So, I think naturally, like, I'm a patient person. So, like, I'm patient with my process of, like, putting myself through that. Like, I have to get to, like, a really low point to really be like, all right, I have to set a boundary. Like, I really have to, like, hit rock bottom to, like, get to that point and, like, really recognize, like, okay. And that's, like, that's a flaw in, like, my patience, because it's like, oh, it's okay. Like, it's going to work out. We're going to figure out these, like, I'm learning. I'm doing this.
Right?
I'm like, sis, you are not sleeping. You are not sleeping. Like, what? You are falling asleep at parties or, like, just, like, everything.
I've been there.
You're just straight up delirious. You're like, it's okay. With the crazy eyes, yo.
Like, no, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
It's not.
It's really not okay.
It's not. So, like, I've learned that, like, I actually have to, like, hit, like, a certain, like, level of, like, depletion, I guess. But that's also not always healthy. So, like, having good, like, role models or, like, seeing people. I think I've also been, like, surrounded by close friends who, like, care deeply, who also organize. So, like, it hasn't helped because we're just, like...
Because it's relatable content.
Yeah, and we're, like...
It's like, oh, you did that too? Oh, same.
Same.
Yeah. It's just like, you want to go, like, die in the corner? Yeah, let's go do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, and then I also had this incident where, like, I don't know, well, yeah. So one of my favorite professors, it was, like, my junior year, like, I was getting burnt out. Like, I just went to her, I was really frustrated, like, in tears, like, why does this, like, keep on happening and stuff? Yeah. And she just looked at me, and then she, like, grabbed her expo marker, she was at her desk, and then she walked over to her, like, whiteboard, and then was, like, just, like, in big, like, letters, like, wrote, like, N and, like, O, and then a period. And I was just looking at her.
She said, period.
Period. I was like, okay. And then,
You're like, the fuck is this? Your eyes are swollen. Tears are still streaming. Professor, take me home. What is this for? I've never seen those words in my life.
Those words.
One word.
Why is that?
and she was like, yeah, you just, like, you need to learn how to say no. And that was, like, a hard truth for me to, like, understand and, like, be able to accept. But she's like, I know it's not going to be easy. Like, I've also been there. And, like, one way that it helped me when I was younger was she would write, like, no on a mirror, or, like, somewhere you always, like, if you're always going, like, the kitchen and, like, there's an area or whatever, she would write, like, no, so that she would always see it.
Okay.
And, like, I think it's, like, a habit that you kind of have to learn. Mm-hmm. And then once you see, like, we talked about meditation. Yeah. And, like, it was hard, like, trying to start it. Like, a lot of failed attempts. Because it was just, like, I still have all these thoughts, like,
shit
everywhere.
In my head, bro.
Like, it's like, that's not the point.
Because you get to the point where you're meditating, right? And you're like, okay, empty mind, right? And then, like, something pops up. You're like, get the fuck out of my head. And then, like, you're just like, all right, I'm good. And then, like, if you're in a room with other people who are meditating, it's worse because you're like, are they thinking too?
Exactly.
And then you're like, damn, that person looks so focused. I gotta close my eyes. And then you're like, damn it, I'm still thinking about shit.
And you hear them breathing and stuff. Like.
And then the instructor starts talking. She's like, touch your temples. Rub them. And then you're like, I'm a little crazy right now.
Like, why are they called fucking temples?
You start questioning it, and you're like, is this gonna work? Like, is this actually helpful? Like, whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's a process of learning. And then I think the first time you say no, and then, like, you see the benefit, you're just like, yeah, this works.
Yeah. I don't feel guilty at all saying no to anybody anymore, just because I've practiced it so much. But at first, it was really, really hard.
It's hard, yeah.
It's really hard. Because, you know, especially when you have to say no to people that you love, or, like, people that you respect, and you're just sitting here like, no, you're asking me to do this because you could easily fucking do this. You know what I mean? Or, like, when it's something that it's like, you're just at the point where it's like, you literally cannot, then it's like, okay, that's excusable. You literally can't,
Yeah.
you know? But when it's something that it's like that person could easily do and they're just asking you because they know that you'll do it, like being taken advantage of, that's when you really have to fucking like set the line and be like, I'm gonna call this what it is. You're literally just doing this because you see that it's hard for me to say no to you, you know? That's the part where it's like tricky. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, because you're threading a line of like, okay, am I being assertive with my actual, boundaries right now, or am I crossing a line?
Yeah.
Because like,
or are you being an asshole? But for the most part, you're not being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people can take shit personally, and this is the whole thing where like not everyone has to take everything so personally, but when someone finally hears their first no, it's really fucking hard for them. But sometimes you gotta be that person.
And that's like a red flag though. Like that's how you know you have to step down though, because like if you confide in someone and you're like, look, like I'm struggling, like it's really hard for me to manage my time, or like I don't know, like I'm just doing a lot and I'm exhausted, and they still continue with the same actions, then that's like you just need to go,
because obviously their priorities are not your priorities, or you are not a priority to them.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah. Because then at that point you kind of feel like, okay, well, what I'm doing is replaceable. Like, it's like,
right.
Like if I can't handle this one thing, are you saying like someone else totally fucking can? Like, and then you start to question your own worth, and it just is a spiral.
Ooh. Exactly. And it's like that whole worth part. Yeah. It's like you just, sometimes like we don't value our own time. And that's when I had to ask, like when I first said like no, it was like why do I struggle with like prioritizing myself? Like what is, it's like a bigger issue, and like just being able to be like, all right, I have to like dig deep, this is annoying, but it's like a lot of work, but
character building.
Right.
This is just the exposition, like
it's so draining.
It's not my story yet.
Like what is it?
I thought I knew myself.
Exactly, and it's like I'm like
the plot guy.
And then the plot thickens. Oh, she thick.
She thick with Q's.
Right. Oh, with Q's. That's different. I was thinking 2 C's, but that's different.
Qua.
She thick.
The qua. Ish.
Tiki. Alrighty.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't know how we got thick.
The plot.
The plot is just. It's just that.
It's thickened.
Is that? But yeah, I think there's like, would y'all say like your perfectionism, or like, or would you identify with like being, because I'm just trying to like understand honestly, like why is it that it's so hard to like say no? But
I know why. For me, I'm a fucking control freak. Like that's just it. That's just fucking it. I have a problem. Well, actually not anymore. I think I've gotten way better at it. Same. I think when I was younger it was huge. Cause I mean this transitions smoothly into like what my next question was gonna be, which is like, what is your earliest memory of like you seeing yourself as an adult? Not an adult, a leader. Equal. But yeah, like my earliest memory of me seeing myself as a leader is how my family would treat me, because obviously I'm the firstborn, but like I've never seen gender as a defining thing of leadership growing up, because I saw both as my parents equal as leaders, because both of them were working parents, right? And when I was in college, we did this thing where it was like we had to take like this class poll of like how you saw your parents in terms of like gender definitions of like leadership roles, and majority of them were like, yeah, my dad owns some company and my mom's a stay-at-home mom, and I was like, oh well, not the case for me. And so for me, growing up in that environment where I had working parents and like, seeing like gender not as a situation, like I was, and I'm the firstborn grandchild and child of my immediate family, like everything always kind of just fell on me. So like, for example, if there was like a family party or something, the parents would be like, okay, Azab, go take care of the kids in the room, right? And like they would put that on me because they knew I would do it and I wasn't gonna say no because I was a woman. And I'm a fucking child. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I'm a child taking care of the children because y'all want to chill. Yeah. Whatever. So Anyways, for me, I was like, okay, well, I've been instilled with this power now. Like, for example, Simon, remember when mom and dad would leave money home and then, like, I would be in charge of the money?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you'd be like, I want to be in charge of the money.
Yeah, because I got so sick of French fries.
Yo,
I can't eat French fries anymore because, randomly, I'll be able to eat French fries. But on a normal day, French fries are not a food I go for.
Yeah. But anyways,
Ozzy was in charge of
like,
the money.
other than that, like, ways that I found that to be healthy for me was, like, you know, I did dance growing up. So, like, dance was a very big, like, emotional outlet for me that I didn't even realize at the time until I was older and I unpacked that shit. But, you know, I would be like, okay, guys, like, let's do a dance or whatever, right? So I would, like, teach all my cousins a dance and we'd go do it for the adults at, like, family reunions. And it was hilarious. It was cute, right? And, like, that was just, like, shit that we would do. Yeah. And now, like, growing up, I'm like, oh, okay, like, that's where that came from, right? Because I still do that professionally now. But, like, it's also funny because there are times where I was shamed for being a leader, right? Where I remember one time we were going to see some movie with our babysitter's kids, and my grandmother was like, oh, just let the boys have fun. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Because that was the first time I was being challenged for being a leader, right? And it was because she was like, don't be a mother, Azeb. And I was like, what? And so I was like, what do you mean by that? And she was just like, you know, just let them do what they're going to do. And I was like, so you're telling me that if these little boys are in the movie theater throwing candy at each other, you want me to let them just do that? You know what I mean? And it's okay for them to do that, but God forbid I do something, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I'm a girl and it's unladylike. But then for me to step in and to shut down their fun, which is totally immature and, like, not respectful to the space that we're in, then, like, it's, like, not a problem, right?
I remember I used to get yelled at church because I would, tell kids, like, yo, why are you on your phone right now? And then the teacher would be like, Simon, you're not the police. And I'm like, why don't you do your job? Like, I was just like, are you kidding me?
It's because you made him notice he's not doing his job.
Yeah, literally, I was like, excuse me. Like,
But I've gotten the mom quote too.
Yo, facts!
And, like, especially, like, in college. And I'm just
for real?
Like...
You're just like, bro, I'm cool. You're like, I too get it. I too.
But, like, I get you.
Yeah, man. But yeah, how about you? Like, what was, like, your earliest memory of being, like, a leader?
Yeah. I think for me, I'd say it was, like, middle school when we started, like, applying to high schools and trying to figure out, like, I'm the oldest, so I have a younger brother, and, like, I think there's a very distinct, like, first generation immigrant experience. Like, I noticed recently, like, a lot of my close friends are, like, first generation. Like,
yeah, man, same.
Yeah,
all of them, everyone in my circle,
they like get it.
Yep.
There's, like, a lot of pressures to, like, fulfill certain things, but, like, naturally I noticed, like, I'm really used to, like, putting myself in spaces and being like, all right, let's figure it out, because like, we gotta figure it out. So for middle school, like, figuring out the whole high school process for, like, private schools, like, my parents weren't familiar with that. So just, like, being kind of, like, thrown into that and being like, okay, like, we gotta do this and this, meet these deadlines. Like, you're in 8th grade.
No, literally.
And, like,
the amount of stress that is put on a 14-year-old,
yep.
You know, like, what I mean?
Crazy, and
that's
I didn't
minority
notice
stress theory
recently.
right there.
Yeah, and it's like things that we're so used to. But, like, I saw this tweet once, and I don't know who tweeted it, but I couldn't find it. But it's basically saying, like, in U.S. years I'm 22, but in immigrant daughter years I'm 97.
Major facts.
And I felt that. I was like, wait.
Major facts. But also, like, I'm pretty sure, like, even, like, Rupi Kaur, even though she might be problematic, she, like, her most recent poetry book was about, like, how women are the centers of their family, even when you're not the mom. So, for example, us, right? Like, the oldest daughter. All of that shit falls on me. Always. My roommates, ask them. They're also the only daughters, or, like, not the only daughters, but, like, the go-to daughters, that all of the family shit falls on them.
Yep.
So, like, if anything, we're seen as leaders, we're being dumped with all this baggage, yet it's not our baggage to carry, because it is also our parents' obligation to take care of themselves as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, that may sound really fucked up, but it's not like they're unable to take care of themselves.
They are their own people.
They are also human
You
beings
guys
that can
are
function.
able, to check in on yourself, to go to your own kind of health environment to, better yourself. Like, it is nothing that is totally out of your control. Like, you're not 97 years old and need a diaper yet. Like, you are totally capable of taking, control of your situation and your health and your ability to feel better. Like,
and not to justify like what they're doing or anything, but I was recently having this convo, and like I really think it goes back to culture. Like, self-care, it does not exist in African culture.
It is non-existent.
Like, it's not there.
Yeah.
So like,
it's survival mode.
Well,
exactly.
it's survival mode, but it's also, I have to give all of myself to everyone else. I have to give everything to my community, because your community is what is going to keep you alive.
And
But
that's
that
like your
pushes-
indicator of worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that but that pushes you into survival mode.
Absolutely.
Where you're pouring every penny, every hour of your time, every second of your sleep.
It's self-destructive.
Exactly, where you're just,
Especially
totally
in a country where that doesn't like nurture that type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, America isn't made.
America's the complete opposite.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
individualistic.
individualistic.
It's independent. It's everyone mind their goddamn business. Yet, are we minding our business? No, we're trying to control everybody's life to be the same.
Yeah.
Sounds like communism to me.
We're going there.
So, if we talk about, let's switch gears for a second and talk about, obviously we just talked about how we see ourselves as leaders, but like, what about people who don't see themselves as leaders? Like, but you can see potential. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody has the potential to be a leader.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, I feel like this, in my mind, it relates back to the thing I was saying earlier with people can be leaders in different ways.
Yeah.
Like, I know for a fact, like, I'm more of an outspoken, extroverted person, and, like, when I lead, it's more of, like, I'll walk into a room and be like, hey, guys, so this is what's going on, and, like, I can project. It's easy for me to do that kind of stuff. Where more introverted people are like, oh, well, I don't want to go be the center of attention right now, but I can do all this digital stuff. Like, it's like I can take the lead. Like, like just taking initiative, like being able to be like, yeah, I'm responsible for myself and I'm a leader in this one aspect of what our team is working on. Like, I feel like that can, and people don't want to see themselves as a leader. Instead of like, they'd want to just be a contributor. But I feel like,
but by contributing, that's leading.
Yeah.
Like, people who like to work behind the scenes, like, you're doing all of the goddamn work. You deserve visibility. Like, that is leadership.
Yeah.
Definitely.
By taking action. How about, like, in terms of, like, why would you not step up?
I think there's a lot of fear. Like, fear of commitment, fear of failure, fear of success, like, fear of just not being, it's like an unknown area for some people. Like, if you don't grow up in the mindset of like being able to also see like how that works, because like if you're exposed to that at a young age, you're kind of aware of like what it takes to lead or plan or bring something together or organize. Whereas like if you're not really exposed to that, you're like, oh, I'm not really familiar, I'm not really sure, and then someone else is like, oh, this is second nature, so then they just pull up and also like organize and like take the lead. But then also sometimes like people just don't want to like take the initiative either. So like it really just is a case by case basis. But I, like you said, I think that everyone has potential, and it's like you're the strongest one. It's like there's multiple leaders in a room. And who know their strengths, weaknesses, and all that.
I feel like reasons why I wouldn't like step up for a leadership position might be like, even in marching band, I didn't have a great rep with the instructors, like getting into it like the first couple of years, but then I wanted to be drum major. So like I tried stepping up and they didn't give it to me. Because, like I didn't build that great relationship. So like the way that other people see you when you are trying to step up into these positions,
and then you
totally
want to switch up on
factors.
them out of nowhere.
Yeah, like if you want to say, no, I am a leader, and then they're like, yeah, but you haven't really been taking it seriously, so no, you're not. Like, you do have to lead by example before you actually step into the leadership position. Like, you gotta kind of prove yourself. And that kind of gets sucky with the whole, like, prove your worth.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, know your own, like, yeah, I am worth more than the failures that I have. But those do come into effect when you try to say, hey, I'm modeling behavior. Or, like, hey, you guys should be like me. Where it's like, me. Like, that's where it gets a little gray for me.
And I feel like some people in that situation would be like, oh, okay, like, I'm never going to step up for a position anymore. And then others would be like, oh, okay, like, I have to do this, this, and this. So it's like, it's also just like different personalities, different like things that motivate someone to be like, oh, I really want this, or like, I really want to like take advantage of this opportunity or whatever.
I think in terms of just like how I would go about encouraging people to step up, though, is just like, you know, you are the only thing that is in the way of getting anything that you want to get done. Like, period. Okay, so I heard somewhere, I forget where I was, but they said that like fear is false evidence appearing real. And I was like, whoa, actual definition of what it is. Because it's you convincing yourself that you're incapable of something, right? And you're capable of literally anything you put your mind to. Is that Albert Einstein? Did I just quote him?
I don't know.
Thomas Edison? I don't know.
Someone.
But pretty much it's just like, don't let yourself stop yourself from accomplishing the things you want to get done.
The only thing to fear is fear itself.
Again, JFK.
JFK. Always making it
Twice.
Twice. What episode was it as of? I don't remember either.
Go back and listen to all of them.
Figure it out, guys. Find it.
But
Get a sticker.
yeah, how about you guys? What would you say in terms of like encouraging others to step up?
I think it has to stem from like, I think like the state of like your relationship with that person also is a big indicator of like whether or not that person can believe you. Because like if you get from an acquaintance like, oh, you should definitely like step up, it's like, yeah, but like you don't really know me, versus someone who like you trust, who like knows you, who values you and everything, or like you have that sense of like comfort with, and they're like, hey, you should step up, like I think you'd be like a great like addition to the team and stuff. It's like, oh wow, like okay. So I think first it's like being aware of like your relationship with that person first, and like really getting to know them and see like, is this really a good fit? And then being able to be like, hey, like, you know, you have like the potential. I think some leaders don't even like do that and like reach out to others and be like, hey, like I think you'd be a great fit for this.
Seriously.
Because like sometimes like
That's
there
how
are
you
some leaders. Yeah, that's also how some leaders just end up like leading everything, and it's like it just isn't sustainable because you're literally doing everything, and that's not how, like, that's just not a great way to like.
But also like, I don't know, I was having this conversation I think when I was in college of like when I was burnt out and how I was trying to prevent myself from entering this phase of life ever again. And you know, we were just talking about how if I don't do it, somebody else will. Somebody will come because I'm replaceable. Maybe replaceable in a different sense because, you know, obviously I bring my own unique skills and experiences and personality, but also like the things that I'm actually doing that need to get done to keep this thing alive, somebody else can do. So like that's why I don't feel guilty when I step down from things, because I know that there are other human beings that exist that care equally as much as I do about whatever the cause is.
Also, if you step down, who's to say that it's not going to create an opportunity for someone else to step up?
Facts.
Like, you never know who's waiting in the shadows to be like, oh shit, Azim's out, it's my time. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's like, if it's someone new that steps up and thrives, that's also a form of like inspiration for that person. Yeah. Because you're just like, okay, I could do it.
Cool. All right, y'all, that's all I got. You want to get into these key takeaways?
Oh my god. Yeah.
What keys do we have to take away?
Take the kids. I think one key takeaway for me would be just what we've been saying right now. Like, anyone can be a leader. Like, and it, you know, a leader doesn't have to be defined by the, you know, the person that stands and yells in the front of the room and points fingers of what people need to do. Like, it can always be the quiet person that just kind of, leads by example, leads with people instead of leading just people, like, kind of motivating from within, because, where's the energy going to come from? Outside? Like, no.
That's true.
So, could be anyone.
Yeah. I think my main key takeaway, since we talked about a lot of content, is just always remember as a leader to put yourself first.
Put yourself
You
first.
have to. You just have to. Because, like, you literally will not exist without you. That's it.
Literally.
You got that put yourself first Crazy Ex-Girlfriend songs going in my head.
Well, I forgot about it.
We're about to
Malik,
say-
what's your key takeaway?
I would say my key takeaway is that, first of all, just having this conversation, like, burnout is more common than you think. Like, I think sometimes people think they're doing it alone, but it's common. It happens. You will get through, and you will just, like, rise or whatever. But rise. It's more of, like, communal effort than individual effort, and, like, just, like, distributing effort. Like, everyone can contribute, and so everyone can thrive. So, like, that's how it works.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Your work.
Awesome. Okay. Do we have any announcements?
No.
You don't have any?
I would just like to say potatoes.
Oh my god, you say this every
Do I always say
fucking
potatoes?
episode.
Fuck, okay.
Make a different word.
Cheese.
I thought you hated French fries. Wait, do you have any
I
announcements?
said cheese.
Okay, got you.
Not really.
No?
I
Okay.
don't think.
Would you like people to know where to find you or not? You can say anonymous
LOL.
for life.
Anonymous.
You
For
find
life.
her
No,
in
I'm
these
just kidding.
streets.
I mean, I have an Instagram, but it's currently on, like, a detox, in this effort to rest from burnout. But it's me, Mawit, ITSMEMAWIT on Instagram.
Go follow her.
Yeah.
She's a good person.
You got any announcements?
I do.
Wow.
I just don't know if it's going to be relevant when we release this episode, but I'm going to say it anyways. So, Friday, November 1st, all y'all who are in the Boston area finna pill up. Not
Pills, baby.
pills. Pill up. Wow. Whoa, that was bad. There is an opioid.
Oh boy.
Epidemic, y'all.
Hold on, like epidemic. All right,
Yes.
y'all gonna pull up to Chez Vous, 11 Rhodes Street, Boston, Massachusetts,
Okay.
7 to 10,
When?
to celebrate my fucking birthday.
What day?
It's a Friday.
Okay.
Right.
Bet.
Yes, I'll be there or miss out.
Be squares.
70s attire is encouraged because it is Halloween weekend
Have a week.
and because I'm 5 years away from being 30. So,
Yeah.
so please come celebrate me before I die.
The girl bye.
And support the podcast. Simon, since I did the announcements, you have to do the sign off.
Oh, you fucking bet. So this is a different sign off, guys. Be fucking prepared. Be sure to like the episode, share with friends, and follow us on social media. Subscribe and comment on SoundCloud. Follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you stream us. Email us or comment on social media and leave a review with any feedback, affirmations, or topics that you want to hear on the show at thefreitae@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and have a great rest of your week.
And I just want to thank Mariamawit one more time for being on the show and spreading her wisdom.
I'm a second love.
Amén.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Ish.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.